Hey guys, Fallen Messiah here. So, is Season 10 the best season of Diablo 4 yet? Abso-fucking-lutely. I think at this point there is no questions about this. Diablo 4 has never been as good as it is right now, which is both a great thing and a not so great thing because what happens next? But we'll talk about that a bit later. So, my name is Fallen Messiah and welcome to my complete Diablo 10 season review. You might ask what took me so long? Season is almost over? Well, to be honest, I was just busy playing the season. And also, I wanted to wait for the PTR for the next season to cast my final judgment on this season, because now we also have this bit of context on where the game is actually heading come next month, which puts this season into perspective. So, we have a lot of things to talk about in this video, so fasten your seatbelts and let's get straight to it. So as I mentioned before, this is definitely, for me at least, and I think we as community also share a consensus on this, that this is definitely the best season of Diablo 4 so far. Some people prefer Season 2, other people prefer Season 7, which I'm also a huge fan of, but I think at this point this is Diablo 4 at its absolute peak. One of the best reasons why is the Chaos Armor. The Chaos Armor is just absolutely brilliant. What an amazing and yet simple way to just make the entire game better by introducing build diversities previously unheard of in this game. Not only that, but Chaos Armor is a huge win for theory crafters. For the first time in the game, people like me who love making build guides actually had some tools to play with. This was never really the case in the game before. Let's be honest, Diablo 4 is not a highly complex game. Let's just keep it real here. But the fact that we, for the first time, actually had real theory crafting was and is amazing. For example, on Season 10 PTR, I took one of the coolest, but also one of the worst builds in the entire game, Spiritborn's Devourer, and I made it work and pushed all the way to tier 80, which ordinarily would have been completely impossible given how shit this spell actually is and how shit the AI is. But it's just an example. What we're trying to say is that this season brought so many opportunities for people to actually make whatever build they can. And I'm confident that you can actually take every skill in the game and push it to pit 70 or 80 regardless of what skill that is. And I think that's fucking amazing. That has never been possible in the game before. So overall, Chaos Armor is just a very elegant solution to game's overall struggling itemization. And for the first time, we really felt like we can just do anything. Not only that, but because Chaos Armor is account bound, this essentially forced us as players to grind for the best items in the game. So with Chaos Armor and with Mythic Uniques, all the best gear in the game is actually account bound and we have to find it ourselves, which is, in my opinion, a huge W for Blizzard, because that also takes care of several pain points in the game. For starters, the duping and botting, which was very much a plague in the game before the season. And second of all, it finally got us out of the layer boss jail, where we spent the entirety of the last season just endlessly grinding Belial and other lair bosses. This time we had an actual avenue of getting the best items in the game, which are not Belial and lair bosses, which is fucking amazing. So overall, Chaos Armor is the best thing that Diablo 4 has ever done with the game so far. So with that in mind, it absolutely has to stay as a feature in one way or another. It doesn't have to be one-to-one translation. I can understand some issues with Chaos Armor in the sense that it probably makes us a little bit too strong. I get that, but it has to stay as a feature. Maybe as an upgrade to the game's pretty lacking crafting mechanic, especially come Season 11, where they basically completely bastardized masterworking and tempering and made it far too simple to the point of irrelevance. So Chaos Armor mechanic has to stay in the game, for sure. There are many different ways of achieving that. You can use something like Kanai Cube or a Harajuku Cube for the previous two Diablos, or you can make it some kind of craftable orb, a chaos orb that you can imprint on an item and make it a chaos item. I don't know, I don't care, but Blizzard, if you allow this mechanic to go away and you don't return it back, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. It's going to be a huge loss for Blizzard, huge loss for this game in general, if the Chaos Armor mechanic is not in the game and there's nothing else to replace it and to fill out that void. The only downside of the Chaos Armor, however, and there is one significant one, is that as it's pure RNG, getting that one piece of armor that makes an entire build work is a struggle. It's a struggle. And if your build is missing one armor, it can be extremely infuriating. For example, I had that happen to me on my Cataclysm Druid, where I was farming for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Infernal Horde runs, I kid you not, and I never got the Mjolnir Ring Chaos Armor, which was extremely frustrating to me. And then I ended up getting it when I already assembled the build. So by moving the Chaos Armor to some kind of orb that you have to collect and imprint on another item, this issue can actually resolve itself. Another huge win for Season 10 are the Chaos perks. I know, powers have been memed to death for Diablo 4, but I really feel for Chaos perks they have been absolutely cooking, because they're not your typical press something, it does damage. No, these Chaos perks are passives that tremendously modify your entire class in a certain way. For example, Sorceress gains a mana shield. Druid Companions turn into core skills. Necromancer gets to spam ultimates. It's all so fun and so amazing, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Is it balanced? Hell no. But it doesn't have to be. Season 10 really is the season of the power creep, and with the combination of Chaos Armor and Chaos perks, I think that's kind of in full display of what we're seeing when it comes to builds pushing into 120, 130 of the pit and even more. So it's definitely a little bit insane. However, I love them. I think Chaos Armor and Chaos perks have one thing in common, and I don't just mean making us ridiculously overpowered, but they also have in common the fact that they're kind of patching up the game's deficiencies, whether it's itemization, whether it's the skill tree system, and exactly what I said earlier about Chaos Armor, these core concepts of these Chaos perks that make the game so fun, so amazing to play, they have to be in the game in one way or another. They can be reworked into items or aspects or skills, like for example, you have an item that turns your ultimates into core skills and your core skills into ultimates. That would be sick as fuck. And those are the things that Diablo 4 really needs. So what I want to take away from Chaos perks and Chaos Armor is not just the power, the sheer power, that's kind of the side effect. The main point to take away is the sheer build diversity and the sheer fun that we're having while making these brand new builds and playing them. And that, in my opinion, has to stay in the game somehow. So the fact that you can, for example, play a ball-lightning sorcerer and spam everything into mana cost and overpower all the time, or the fact that you can just spam Bone Storm as a Necro, these things are amazing. And the Chaos perks with Chaos Armor created so many different builds that will only ever exist in this season, which is a huge shame, and I really hope Diablo 4 sees these things for what they are, not just the power creep, but the way to significantly increase the build diversity, which in my opinion is probably one of the biggest pain points in Diablo 4 at this moment. And I really hope they end up reworking these concepts and reintroducing them in the game even in later seasons. But overall, Chaos perks have been absolutely amazing. Maybe too powerful? Yes. Too unbalanced? Absolutely. It's not even balanced from class to class. Some classes got a bit of a raw deal when it comes to these Chaos perks. Others almost went to a godhood status, so it's not balanced, but these things can be ironed out, as long as we actually have these things to make our game exciting. So yeah, I've been yapping about Chaos perks and Chaos Armor and how awesome they are, because I love this concept so much. And what I love is that this game has been increasing in quality season after season, and now Season 10 is the pinnacle of Diablo 4 at the moment, and these two things are the main reason why. But they're not the only reason. Let's talk about Chaos Rifts. I love Chaos Rifts so much, man. The thing about Chaos Rifts is that if you were to describe them to a person in a sentence or two, they would look at you like, okay, well, they don't sound anything special, right? It's just this little rift A couple of monsters pop out, you kill them, you get rewards, bam, that's it. And honestly, this is where the beauty of Chaos Rift lies, in their simplicity. Not every single game design has to be so drastically complex and complicated. Sometimes simplicity really is the key, and devs have absolutely killed it with Chaos Rift. Are they super complex? No, but they simply make every single content in the game a lot better. Everything from Nightmare Dungeons to Hell Tides. My only main complaint about Chaos Rift is that we don't see them nearly as often. Honestly, from the very start of your journey as a character, you hit level 1, you start leveling, these Chaos Rifts, they kick your ass, man. And that's great. There should be content in the game that is a little bit higher in the difficulty, but also equally rewarding, that should kick your ass, because otherwise it becomes a little bit too much steamrolly. So I love the fact that from the very start of the game, these Chaos Rifts are just hard. But then, once you reach Torment 4, once you optimize your character, once you get everything rolling and you start one-shotting monsters, Chaos Rifts are so fun. It's fun to engage with these monsters, it's fun to get these powers, especially the one that give you Infernal Warp every time you kill a monster. I love that. And then you can also take that currency and trade it for reputation, for Chaos Armor and other goodies, which I also have a video about, which I'm gonna link somewhere down below. And then you can even get Chaos Armor as a reward as well. In fact, farming reputation through Chaos Rifts is the best way of getting Chaos Armor, as long as you have enough sigils. So this is yet another feature that Blizzard just has to keep in the game. If anything, I would just straight up add this shit to more things, and I would be unapologetic about that. Why not? Have Chaos Rift pop out in random places in the open world, and then players get rewarded for exploring. Have Chaos Rifts in more Nightmare Dungeons, not just the ones that have a Chaos Sigil modifier. Because what happens right now is that the only Nightmare Dungeons that are really worth a damn are the ones with the Chaos Rift. If a Nightmare Dungeon doesn't have it, then it's kind of lacking and it's kind of useless in the current season, which I feel is a shame. I think every single Nightmare Dungeon should have at least 1 or 2 Chaos Rifts, and then those that have a dedicated sigil could have a lot more. That's my suggestion. But overall, Chaos Rifts are such an amazing, simple and elegant way to just completely elevate gameplay even further, and it just makes every single game activity better. It makes the gameplay better, it's more exciting, and it works! It just works. The only major downside about Chaos Rift is if you're playing in a party, then it gets really hard to farm them, especially somewhere like Hell Tides, where if a player that's a bit further from you has clicked on one and completed one, by the time you come there, it's already done. That can be actually quite annoying. But other than that, I absolutely love them. And I think in combination with Chaos Armor and Chaos Perks, Chaos Rifts serve as this trifecta that just made the game so better in every single conceivable way. Alright, now let's talk about Infernal Hordes. Even though we talked about Chaos Armor and the Rifts and the perks, ultimately Season 10 is sort of officially Season of the Infernal Hordes, because this is the core game activity they decided to bring up this season. And as you can see on your screen, I think they absolutely did a bang up job in that regard. First of all, Infernal Hordes always have been one of the stronger activities in Diablo game to begin with, but now they're simply a lot better in several different ways. Let's talk about them. First of all, we can finally build upon previous boons. You can use this mechanic to actually build something, and you get rewarded for choosing the same thing, which is really nice. You can actually strategize and over time create your own strategies to boons, which usually just wasn't the case. Before this season, it was just Hellborn, 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 right? But now, if you for example pick Spires one time, maybe they're not so good, but then you can pick another Spire modifier on top of that, and then another Spire modifier on top of that, and then suddenly you manage to actually build something, and then on Wave 6, Wave 7, Wave 8, you get rewarded for it by just having a ton and ton of Aether as a result. I love that. They added tons and tons of new exciting boons, which in turn allow us to really strategize and to take several different paths into building our boons as a result. So everything from masses to Aether Lords to Aether Fiends and even Spires, it's all very good now, and there are always ways to really make them work if you're a little bit lucky to get the right boons to build on top of them. So huge plus for that. I really love the way that boons and banes work in the current season. And one of my favorite things about this is the actual way that we can strategize when we are picking up these boons. Let's say, for example, you're building up Spires, and you picked a boon that gives you 2.5 multiplier. That's great. Now, you finish the wave, you're presented with 3 different boons. You can choose to juice up your Spires further, or you can even pick Masses now drop Spires upon death, which actually is another multiplier for your Spires, even though they're Masses. So the whole thing just really flows, it really works well together, and kind of forces you to think a little bit outside the box to really leverage the system and to really maximize your Aether game. Now, about the Spires themselves, they're still a little bit lacking, although in the patch that came like 2-3 weeks into the season, they did kind of fix them. So now the radius has been increased, and they're finally spawning some monsters by themselves, so they're not super slow. They're not nearly as good as Aether Lords or probably Aether Fiends, but if you invest into Spires, they're actually really good, which is a complete opposite of previous seasons where Spires were just absolute dog shit. So overall, just huge improvements on that area. I will have to say, one major downside, kind of my problem, is that in the last season and season before, Hellborn was really the only thing we ever cared about. And I love the fact this is not the case anymore. But now I feel Hellborn became pretty much one of the weakest modifiers for the Infernal Hordes now. So I feel the balance has been skewed here. I still think they should be desirable, and I still think there should be a way to build them up and build upon them. So maybe give them +2 Aether as opposed to +1. I think that would help Hellborn to bring them a little bit up to speed with other boons in the game. But other than that, I love the Infernal Hordes. They are super fun. Chaos Waves are amazing, and I'm glad that they're going to be staying in the game going forward. At least I hope so. I know the Bartok is staying, so hopefully Chaos Waves stay as well. They're unpredictable. Not every Chaos Wave is a banger, but every single one is pretty much better than what you would get in the regular boons, with maybe a few exceptions, so it's almost always worth it to go with them. They have this mechanic: if one of your party members dies in the Chaos Wave, the entire wave is dead, and I both like it and dislike it at the same time. I guess I understand they felt the need to introduce an extra challenge to not make everything super easy, but as a result, if you're that one person that dies, then the rest of the party is gonna hate your guts. But other than that, Chaos Waves, I love them. The Goblin Wave is so fucking stupidly powerful and overpowered, and it's not super common, but when you do get it, it feels so satisfying. And these are the moments that you want to create in your game. You want to create these super satisfying moments, so when they do happen, you just love them. You're so thrilled, and dopamine hits to the 11. So I love the Chaos Waves, I love the Goblin Chaos Wave, and overall the whole thing just works really well together. I love it. Bartok fight is pretty good. They've been cooking something different. To be honest, you can still crush him fairly easily if you have a powerful build, which pretty much everyone has in Season 10. But in lower tiers, he's actually challenging, and he has pretty interesting mechanics, like these wormholes that you have to interact with, these portals to dodge the objectives and obstacles. So yeah, thumbs up as well. And also, because of the Bartok fight, honestly, this time, for the first time in the season, I found myself never really worrying about Obducite, because whether you hit the Obducite chest or not, Bartok always is going to give you a lot of it. So just overall, I think Infernal Hordes are a pretty top tier content in the game, probably the best activity right now. Bartok is also a great fight, great addition. He works really well with the Chaos Armor as well, as a recurring and deterministic way of getting them. And in Season 11, I believe he will serve as a way to get Nearthodon or whatever, which is a resource to reroll your capstone modifier. So he's still gonna serve a purpose. So overall, as I said here, Hordes have always been a strong activity in the game, but now with these changes, they're even better. And in my opinion, they're probably the flagship activity in Diablo 4 at the moment, which is usually great, but it also exposes vulnerabilities and flaws in other activities that are probably not up to speed right now. For example, the Nightmare Dungeons, even though we literally just had the rework for the Nightmare Dungeons in the previous season, I feel that the new hordes kind of just expose them as just still not good enough. Now, in the miscellaneous portion, botting and duping has been fixed. Guys, I cannot tell you how fucking happy I am. In the previous season, I actually had a video in which I criticized this very thing. It was so prevalent, it was so horrible, it made the game so much worse. It was so bad that you couldn't even buy an upgrade for a piece of gear without also having to put in tens of thousands of legendary runes on top of the gold cap. Really? Gold cap wasn't enough, you had to also buy with tens of thousands of legendary runes, which is ridiculous. And the only way somebody got so many runes in the game was by duping them. So last season was absolutely horrible with botting and duping. And this in turn had a snowball effect on every single activity in the game. It just made it worse. And to be honest, I was really frustrated at this point in the game because this has been prevalent in every single season of Diablo 4 to that point, and it just absolutely culminated in Season 9. And what really bothered me is the fact that dev team, for whatever reason, failed to communicate this issue with the players at all. They were never like, hey guys, we're aware this is an issue, we're fixing it, we're working on it. These little things of reassurance go a long way. And of course, I know they were working behind the scenes at all times. I get that. But just telling people that we're aware of the issue and that we're fixing it, we're working on it, this really goes a long way. And I really felt there was a huge communication lag between us as players and the dev team as far as the duping is concerned. It almost felt like we as players are not aware of the issue or something. But anyway, the whole point of this entire monologue is the fact that they actually goddamn fixed it. And the reason I knew that is because nobody was selling tens of thousands of husks in the beginning of the season, or week 1, or even week 2. Basically, they've managed to completely fix the duping issue, which in turn resulted in the gold value in the game actually increasing greatly and mattering for the first time in Diablo 4. Gold finally mattered. As a result, this makes the entire gameplay better. Everything from farming to trading and other things, this has a snowball effect of making everything better. And I know a lot of people think just because they don't engage with the system with trading that it somehow doesn't affect them. But you're wrong. If you're engaging in trading in any capacity, and you probably will, very least for high runes to make your mythic uniques, then you're still affected. So just something to keep in mind. So overall, this fix is something that really surprised me positively at the beginning of the season. I was not expecting the fix to happen because I was a bit jaded for all the seasons playing where the duping was prevalent. I did not expect them to actually fix it and fix it fairly soon. So huge thumbs up, double thumbs up for Blizzard on this regard. One extra side note is because the value of the gold has now significantly increased, the gold chest in Infernal Hordes is actually valuable right now. And I actually found myself hitting the gold chest in Infernal Hordes lots and lots of times because I already capped out on Obdusite pretty much. I almost have 999,000, so I often went for gold instead. And that was a very nice way to earn lots of extra gold that I can then in turn trade for items. Which, again, huge thumbs up for the fix, which just makes the game better. Now, even though Season 10 is amazing, I do have some complaints and some feedback because, of course, not everything is sunshine and roses. So, Nightmare Dungeons just feel really disappointing. I already referenced that several times in the video, but Nightmare Dungeons, especially the ones without Chaos Rifts, just feel useless. They just do. Obdusite, you have the Infernal Hordes. Chaos Armor, again, Infernal Hordes. Mythic Uniques, layer bosses. Or Infernal Hordes. I did get a couple from Bartok as well. So where is my incentive to play Nightmare Dungeons? I love them. It's one of the most fun activities in the game. And I said this in many videos before. Nightmare Dungeons have a chance to really carry the game based on the sheer diversity of the Nightmare Dungeons in Diablo 4. But the problem is that right now in this game, why would you ever do them if they don't have Chaos Rifts? And that's what I was talking about. Hopefully they improve the Nightmare Dungeons even further. At the very least, add tons of Chaos Rifts in them going forward even if they don't have it on the sigil, that would be a good step forward. And for Seasons 11 and forward, the Chaos Rifts can do pretty much the same thing. They can still give you the seasonal currency that we were using at the time with other extra rewards. Why not? And let's talk about Horagic Strong Rooms. If the Nightmare Dungeons had become obsolete, then the Strong Rooms even more so. Currently, you have zero incentive to go to Strong Rooms. In the previous season, they were goated, they were the best source of Obdicite and also seasonal powers and other things. Right now, unless you want the escalation sigils, they're really not useful. For the Obdicite, Hordes are just better, and as far as the rewards are concerned, they're really not worth your effort. Not at this point. Hopefully, they manage to do something cooler with the Strong Room dungeons in Season 11 Plus, because right now, they're just not really cutting it, in my opinion. And also, my final complaint is that perhaps a more targeted way to getting Chaos Uniques would be better, which is something I also already talked about. Maybe by finding a Chaos Unique, we can then salvage it to extract its orb or something and then imprint it into a different item. That would be a pretty good solution, and it's something that I already seen suggested by the community several times. So this is definitely something to perhaps consider if we're going forward with this mechanic. Alright, and now that I talked about the main points of Season 10, let's go with the final summary. So, we'll be getting some pretty strong improvements season after season after season, and this ultimately culminated in Season 10. Almost every facet of this season has been amazing. Lots of theory crafting options, builds opening up for the first time, strong unique builds that are super fun to play, and players feel really powerful and rewarded for their efforts, which always feels amazing. So the obvious question presents itself, and that is, now what? So one potentially big negative thing about Season 10 is the strong power creep. Season 10 has been the season of the power creep, essentially. We have never been as powerful as we are right now, which, while is fun, also has some ramifications down the way, because it can only go down from here. And it's also pretty unrealistic to expect this level of power going forward with Diablo 4. Season 11 kind of hints at things going a lot different way going forward, with many different key mechanics, key systems in the game getting overhauled, and with Chaos Uniques being dropped, with Chaos Perks being dropped, the game is gonna be a lot harder. But one point that I want to really hammer home, if anyone that has any stakes in the game ends up watching this video by any chance, this isn't about the power itself, guys. Making a game harder is not necessarily a bad thing for the game, and personally, I think it's actually a good thing. It's gonna increase the longevity, it's gonna increase the fun, and it's gonna ultimately increase the payout when you actually finally assemble the build properly. So it's not just about the power. What is bad, however, is that if Chaos Armor goes away, if Chaos Perks go away, if Chaos Rifts go away, you're basically removing all of the reasons that this season stood above all the others. It's not about the difficulty itself, it's about the sheer number of build diversity and theory crafting that you've suddenly completely removed from the game entirely. This level of theory crafting has never been seen in the game before, and it's something that the game has desperately needed. And you take away that, what exactly are we left with? So the problem is that this season casts a pretty large shadow, and because I'm making this video after already having played Season 11 PTR and seeing what's in store for us, I have to say, I'm not super optimistic, guys, to be quite honest. I don't want to be this doom and gloom guy, but unless they drastically increase build variety in certain ways in Season 11, I'm afraid we're just gonna end up having a lot less fun, ultimately. And a lot of people are not going to take this really well. So I have a couple of extra talking points here. One is this the pinnacle of Diablo 4 experience? Well, for the moment, absolutely. The game has never been as good as it is right now. And will we get even higher highs? I sure as hell hope so, because next year we're gonna get new expansion, we're gonna get new acts, new characters, and with those things they've also hinted at other overhauls such as skill tree, etc. So I have every reason to hope that the game is going to be even better than it is right now, but what I do know is that next season is not going to be. It's just how it is. Hopefully, they end up learning from this experience what that Season 10 is and was, and continue to improve our beloved game going forward. So my overall summary with Season 10 is, Season 10 is amazing in every single facet. Everything about the season has been top-notch. I really feel devs have outdid themselves in this season. But the power creep and everything else does come at a cost, and that cost is severe lack of power in Season 11 and going forward. Because in Season 11, we're gonna do roughly about 20% of damage than we do in this season. And some people are not gonna like that. In fact, I expect quite big backlash about this particular fact. Again, I don't think this is a bad thing, but if you couple harder game with lack of diversity and variety of builds that we have right now, it's gonna be a bit rough. But anyway, that's been my entire analysis of Season 10 and Season 11 and Diablo 4 as a whole right now. What are your thoughts? Do you think this is the best season? Do you agree with me? Do you have a different preference? What do you think about the future of the game going forward? What are the core systems of Season 10 that have to stay in the game, and how would you implement them? Let me know down in the comments. And also, if you feel I missed a mark on something, let me know. I'm always open for feedback, and I'm always open for conversation. Anyway, that's gonna be it for me, guys. If you like these kind of videos and deep dives and Diablo content, then like the video and subscribe to the channel because it really helps me out tremendously. My aim is to get to 700 subs before the year ends, and with your help, I'm confident that we can get there. Anyway, that's gonna be it for me, guys. I'm Fallen Messiah, and I'll see you in the next one.